Hi, Java developers. This is a continuation class of last class. In the last class, we have discussed about the access modifiers and data types. Now, the next topic is class. So, as I mentioned already, to define an object, to create an object, I mean to say, to create an object, we have to create a class. Okay, from the class, we can create an objects. Okay, so first of all, the syntax of the class. Syntax of the class. What is the syntax? Syntax is first we have to define an access modifier, and then class keyword. Okay, after that the class name we have to define, class name, and open and closing parenthesis. You see, we know already access modifiers. We already discussed. We have four type of access modifiers, right? Public, protected, private, default. Those are four type of access modifiers, right? And then the class is a keyword we can use, and the name of the class. Let's come here. This is like, access modifiers. Private, sorry, public, we can go with that. Protected, private, and default. Okay, so these are the four access modifiers we have already discussed. Here, if you see the class syntax, right? If you see the class syntax, access modifier is the one, class keyword and class name. And here some very important notes we have to define. Okay, very important notes. Those are, okay, number one, applicable access modifiers. Applicable access modifiers at the class level. Okay, this is very important. So applicable access modifiers at the class level. Okay, only public and default. These are the two applicable modifiers in the class level. That is very important. And then let's go to the second very important kind of thing. Okay, so the class name. Class name. There is a standard way. Actually, that is a coding best practices also. Java coding best practice. It is very important. Many people, get fail, or else they lack of knowledge. They define different ways. But remember, always the class name should be in the capital letter. Okay, always class name should be in the capital letter. That is very important. Once we have defined the class name in a capital letter, okay, example. Let's go to the example. Access modifier. Let's take the public as access modifier and class keyword. And example thing is, let's say I can take it as a car as a class name and open and closing parenthesis. This is absolutely fine. Very good thing it is. It's a very simple thing, right? And another example, let's say I'm going to create one more class with the default, right? Default means if you don't specify public, protected, and private, that if you keep it empty, that is a default. Okay, here. So let's say I'm going to take it as Apple as the class name here. Okay, another very important kind of thing, another note to define a class names. Okay, uh, in case of class name contains more than one word, we know general English words, right? So in case of class name contains more than one word, definitely, every word starts with a capital letter in the class. If you write a class, if you're writing a class code, I mean class syntax, not a syntax like example classes, if you're trying to create it, okay, that is a mandatory thing. Let me take an example for that. Let's say I'm going to take it as a class of employee service. So if you see here, it's a default class, fine, accepted. Class name, class keyword, and class name. If you see, employee is the one word and service is the another word. Here we have a two different words, right? So that is the reason every word starts with a capital letter. That is very much important. We have to understand. Okay, that is very much important. We have to understand here. Okay, so that is how we have to define a class. How to define a class. Let's say if I try to create any class with a private access modifier or else protected access modifier, so definitely it causes the compile issue. Okay, compilation issue. So what we have to understand here, compilation and run. Java compile and run. These are the two different things we have to understand. First thing is very important, guys. When we compile any class, what happens? When we compile any class, so whatever class we define, we create it, right? So first of all, what we need to do, we need to compile the class. First, we need to compile the class. Once we compile, then automatically, if everything, syntax and everything is fine, then it creates a dot class files. It create a dot class files. Dot class files. Okay, it creates a dot class files. We call it as a binary files also. Let's say we can take it as a apple is the class name. Apple is a class name. So generally, when we create any Java class, we should store Java class with extension .java. That is very important. Okay, we store Java class with .java. So once we store any Java class with .java, then we can have to compile it. So how can we compile? So compile thing is there is a command called javac is the command. We can use javac to compile the any class. So once we have compiled, then how can we have to run to execute the class. So to run the class, we have a command called java is the command. We can use that command and we can run the class. Okay, we can run the class. So how can we do that? Example, if you see in the above here, right? So we have a Apple class example. So what I can do, I'll create. Let's assume that I have created a Apple class. Example, let's come here and create a simple class. Let's say public class Apple is the class name, and I have written it. And then I'm not writing anything. Okay, simply I have defined it. Simple class syntax. With the on the basis of class syntax, I have created a simple class. So how can I save this one? Just simply click on this save button, and then what I gonna do? I gonna uh, practices. Just assume that I'm going to create a core Java is the folder, and here I'm going to save it as a apple.java. This is very important, guys. Many people do mistakes. You know, whatever class name we have to save. Oh, sorry, let me first clean this one. You get for better visibility. Okay. So whatever the class we have here, so we have to save the class the same name with dot extension, dot Java extension. That is very much important. Okay, so what I am doing here, so I'm going to save this one. Apple.java is the name. So when I save it once, when I save, you see all .java files, the class name doesn't matter, just telling you. So all .java files, only humans can definitely humans can read easily because this is human readable format. So once we compile this particular code with the help of, Java C command, how can we do that? Example, you know, Java C space class name. What is the class name? Apple is the class name dot Java. So once we compile it, so what happens? Automatically dot Java file will be created. Let's assume like this is the one we have saved into the this particular location. Let me open this location. So my practices, and let's go to the core Java. This is the class which I created. So what I'm going to do, simple trick, just I'm opening the CMD file. So command line file has been opened. Okay, so if you see Java hyphen version, my local it is Java 9. Similar way, Java C hyphen version. So if you see, it's a it's a different version. Might be because of this environmental setup. Okay, so first I'm going to compile it. I'm not running anything, just I'm going to compile it. So how can I compile it? So with the help of Java C command, I'm using Java C. Java C is already added. Fine, that's cool, good. And what I gonna do next? So class name. What is the class name? Apple dot Java. So when I compile it, you guys just to clean observe, right? So when I hit this particular command, automatically dot class file will be generated in this location. Okay, let me clean these two and then come back here, just press enter. If everything well, then what we can get, like dot class file will be generated. We call it as a binary file. Okay, this binary file humans cannot be read. We cannot read this dot class file. Let's try to read it, right? I'm trying to open it in the notepad. You see, we cannot read this one. Why? Because dot class file, or else we call it as a binary file, only systems can able to understand. Okay, that is very important. Only system, only whatever the mission or JVM, that only can understand. Okay, that is the one. If you want to run the the Java for the execution, Java command for the execution, we should have main method inside the class. Will later the later videos we can discuss about the main method, but just this is the one for the starting point. Okay, if you write example, I'm going to write private as a access modifier here, and I'm saving it's a red color, right? So I'm going to save it, and then again I'm going to recompile it. Okay, recompile it. We know it is there already, the dot class file. Let me delete the dot class file. So I'm going to delete it. Yes, delete it. Now what I'm doing here, just to recompile it again. You see, now we are getting the error. What it is saying, hey, access modifier private not allowed here. So it means we cannot use private access modifier to the class level, right? We cannot use private access modifier to the class level. That is the one we have to understand. Okay. And another important kind of thing. So in the class, right? So this is the class we used for object description. Example, I meant to say for uh any kind of thing. Example, car if you want to describe, right? So car is a class. Example, generally it is a to define a car class or else car object, we have to write a car class. Okay, so just simply write a class, the class name and define a open and closing parenthesis is not enough. So this class inside, we can define any number of things. And one more important kind of thing, in Java, we have to, whatever we want to write, that we can write within open and closing parenthesis only. It should not go after that. If you write any code, example here also, let's say I'm returning back to public, and if you write any code after here, after closing parenthesis, example, if you're writing any say statements, or if you're writing any variables or methods, whatever, if you define, definitely it causes a compile time issue. So whatever we write here in Java, if you want to write anything, so that should be right inside the open and closing parenthesis only. I mean to say class open and closing parenthesis. What are the things are available to write it? Okay, so first thing we have to understand, Okay, constructors we can define constructors. Second one, what we can write? So we can write uh, static and instance blocks. Third thing, we can define a variables we can write. Fourth one, we can write methods. Okay, so like this, like we can you can define all these things inside the class. That is very important. Let's talk about the any object, right? As I mentioned previously, for every object, you know, definitely contains properties and actions. Example, if you take, mobile is a object. So if you take it as a mobile is an object, so mobile contains some properties and also it contains some variables. So what are the properties and what are the variables? Example, if you see here, just a dragging diagram here. So this is a mobile if you assume that. So what are the properties mobile contains? So it's a price, mobile price, and color, and the some what is the brand and which model it is, and also you know the processor and whatever the internal things, right? So those are all comes under as a properties. And what about the actions? For every object, doesn't matter, what object you are taking in real time. So for every object, it is a movable object, it's a live object, it's a food or whatever, right? So let's go to the actions. So what actions mobile can perform? So if you want to dial, if you want to call any person, right? What we can do, we can open a contact list and dial. If you want to take a pictures, you can do. Like if you want to open, mobile and play some games, that is also action. From the mobile, we can do such actions, right? So those are the actions and variables. The combination we can do with the help of mobile. The similar way, the class we can define in the Java, and whatever the properties we described here, right? So those comes under variables. Whatever the actions we described here in the mobile as example, so those comes under methods. Okay, so in later video we can discuss about these two. I mean, this is all about the class. Just a brief to you guys. Okay, we'll meet in the next class. Thank you.